everyone, and welcome back to The Music Made Me. Thank you so much for joining us once again. It is because of you that we get to come back each and every week with new and exciting interviews. Today, we're sitting down with Mixi. She's the lead singer of Stitched Up Heart. She's had an interesting journey from band hopping back in her younger years to winning a record contract through a little-known reality TV series, and finally battling her way to success with her band Stitched Up Heart. So please enjoy our conversation with Mixi of Stitched Up Heart. I'd like to start with a little girl sitting in front of her TV watching Jem and the Holograms, saying to her mom, "Mom, I want to be Jem and I want to be a rock star."
Yeah, I don't even remember it actually happening. I used to watch that show all the time, but I don't remember saying that I wanted to be a rock star. I just remember her telling me that I said that because I was so young. And, as time goes on, I seem to be drawn to every music program that we would have in school. The first class I think was the recorder, and we had a chorus, and I really liked those classes. Those are the ones that I looked forward to. And then when middle school happened, there was band, and I was stoked on that. I loved recorder class so much. And so I played the tuba for a good 3 years. I just thought it was the weirdest looking instrument. Like, I wanted the weirdest thing, the weirdest sounding thing. And I loved that instrument, but you get in high school and you don't want to carry a huge sousaphone around on Friday night football games, and you're trying to fit in with all the other kids. But I did have some friends that were in emo core bands, and when they would have breaks, I would pick up their instruments and kind of mess with them a little bit, play the drums and guitar. And I really fell in love with the guitar. So when I was 15, I asked my dad for a guitar and guitar lessons for my birthday. So that's where that started.
And were your parents musical when you were growing up? Like, was there music around the house? Did they play any sort of instruments?
No, my dad used to listen to the Beatles, and that's the only kind of music. So that kind of stuff is in my blood from an early age, those melodies and those songs. And my mom was like a country girl, so I found the heavier stuff based off a neighbor friend of mine's dad had a whole bunch of like Metallica CDs and Nine Inch Nails and Perfect Circle and just all those Korn, all that era. And I would like go and borrow a CD and hope he didn't notice. And then so the heavy stuff I would like low key be rocking out in my room. So that's kind of how that went.
And you took those and you recorded them onto tape, right?
Yeah. Don't tell Metallica, but I totally didn't. I had like a cassette, when you would take the CDs and like burn them onto a cassette. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So God, that's dating me. But yeah, I had actually my first CD was totally different. My first CD was my first cassette, I guess you would say, was Wu-Tang.
Okay.
I was all about Wu-Tang, Up from the 36 Chambers. And then, a very, very eclectic taste in music. I go from anywhere from Louis Armstrong to Nancy Sinatra to Metallica to, Bring Me the Horizon. It goes all over the map. Not a huge fan of country, though. That's the only thing that the old school country, maybe. But yeah.
And I read that you were a bit of a tomboy growing up. So was that because of the music, do you think? Did the music influence you because you were listening more to that rock and heavy stuff?
You know what it was? I was like my dad's little boy. Like, I
Ah,
think he wanted a boy. And so I was always like, yeah, dad, play, we would throw the ball around, play baseball or softball. I was a big softball player. And so I always like thought that, and we had my dad's second wife, had 2 boys. So I was just one of the boys. And it wasn't until like middle school and I realized things are changing. And I would like don't tell anyone, but I guess this is a podcast, so they're going to hear this. I would tape my boobs down. I was like, I don't want it. I wore huge Nirvana t-shirts and Jinkos and Doc Martens. And then I realized when I got into high school, like, okay, this is happening. I'm just going to have to go with the whole girl thing for now. And, and when I was going to school, it wasn't okay to like think you could be another kind of, like girls can be boys. Sometimes boys can be girls now, but
yeah.
Maybe I am a boy. I don't know.
And growing up, you say that you were big into softball. Was sports more of your focus? Was music just something you sort of listened to at home before you sort of hit the stage where you picked up the guitar?
Yeah, I mean, softball was kind of like my main thing. It was more. I never really thought of music as a career choice when I was in school. I just kind of like just really enjoyed it, and because I was kind of an artsy kid, it was just one of those mediums for me to play with, whether it be acrylic or guitar strings, and writing songs just kind of came naturally. And it wasn't until after high school, I had got a scholarship for softball. And after high school, I was just like, I want to go to school for music. And the school I went to didn't have a music program. So they said, so I ended up getting a college degree in television and production because I was just trying to get college out of the way. So my parents didn't yell at me anymore. And you have to go to college. Fine, let me just do it, get it over with. I just wanted to do music at that point when I got out of school. I didn't really have any other aspirations. Softball was just a lot of fun for me. But no, I wasn't, at every sports event, and I still barely watched the Super Bowl this time. I don't even know what happened. I know Tom Brady was there. That's about it. But yeah, I guess I was just like, I don't know, but I'm just kind of into whatever I'm feeling at the moment,
Right. And when you picked up the guitar around 15, 16, did that do something for you? Like, did it connect with you right away? Or was it just something that you kind of plucked away on for a few years and it didn't really connect with you that, hey, maybe this is something in a few years I'm going to want to do?
Yeah, I picked it up pretty fast. I think, and it just really just could sit there for hours and just write stuff and learn other songs. And but uh, I just didn't know that that was an option to do this for a living. Like I didn't really think about it being an option because I didn't know anyone that had just done music and like succeeded. Like I remember my art teacher saying like, you can never make money in art. And I was like, I will prove you wrong one day, like you're never gonna succeed in art. Do computer graphics. And I'm like, but she was right. I mean, you make a lot more money in that, but
Certainly.
yeah, I don't know. I for a few years I would write songs on the guitar, and um I knew at some point I have to play these in front of people. And so at the beginning, I was so nervous. I didn't know how to perform in front of people. So I knew that I needed to face these fears, and I went out three nights a week. I would do like open mic nights and play on my acoustic in front of all these people I don't know and shaking in my socks, and like I kept doing it and kept getting, got easier and easier, but I just knew I had to play the songs for people. And now, even though it was scary, and now it's kind of something that just comes naturally, but it really took me out of my comfort zone, and I like to challenge those fears.
Right. And when you started writing at a young age, was it a release for you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, I don't know if it was the just singing along and the harmony, like the harmonizing with the guitar and out of tune. You know, it is. It's just like anything you do. Like if some people are into sewing, or some people play video games to like get away from the world. And my escape was at the time before I found alcohol. But I don't drink anymore. But the alcohol actually helped me in the beginning when I didn't know how to play in front of people. I was so nervous, and that gave me a little courage. But it's been 6 years since I drank. But yeah, I don't remember where I was going with that.
That's okay. And so what was the writing like back then? Were you like writing from your soul? Like kind of now you write about how you're feeling, right? But back
Mhm.
then, were you sort of looking deep within and writing about that, or was it more just surface, sort of jotting down words on the paper?
Most of it was very romantic, but also um, this classic jazzy vibe that I used to do with the acoustic guitars a lot, uh, and it was almost like an old soul talking about love. Like I had one song was like talking about being on a film and how the director says kiss and you have to kiss this person and now you're telling them like I'm bewitching you and like those like old timey shows and stuff, and I would write. That was my artistic take on love songs, which I don't really write love songs as much anymore, but I definitely that was definitely a subject matter I sang about before.
And talk about 2008 and the Redemption Song Contest.
Man, you did your research. Oh, so I had just gotten off a tour. Um, I was filling in rhythm guitar, keyboards, backing vocals for a band called Anti Product. And
Well,
I
let's
got off.
start there then. Before we go into Redemption Song, let's start out with your first bands
Oh
and
man, you don't even
where
want
you
to. I don't
started
remember.
there.
I don't remember all the names of
Well,
them.
how many were there?
There was one band called the Sluts. I was the only girl, and it was super fast punk rock. It was like we tried to make songs as fast as we possibly could. Um, and then there was Milk, and then there was I don't even remember half of the names of the band before Anti Product. That was just a fill in tour thing. That was my first tour I ever did. There was a band called Drag Strip Kitty I was in that was all girls, like kind of pop punky. Um, and Stitched Apart was the only band that I put together and really felt. Even I did some solo stuff and I didn't feel like it was the thing I wanted to do. And Stitched Apart was the vision I had from the beginning, where I constantly keep going with it because I feel like there's something here that I don't think I would ever be in any other bands unless they need someone to fill in on something. But it's just from the ground up, it's been my little baby. But Antiproduct was just a fill-in tour. Um, the I came back from that tour. Actually, the girl band broke up because I went on this tour, and they were mad at me for filling in. And I came back, and I was looking for a gig on Craigslist, and I saw this like ad, which is like, do you sing and do you act like Tila Tequila, I think at the time, and are you crazy? And I was like, yeah, I'm all that. So I went to the audition with a bottle of Smirnoff Ice. Um, and I was like, is it cool if I drink? And they're like, you're hired. So that went well. And I actually won that show. It was a bunch of
Yeah.
chicks in a house fighting for a record deal with Geffen. I didn't plan to win. I just went because I was like, this seems like it could be a fun experience. Let's just see what happens.
And
Um,
what was the process like of filming? Because I wasn't able to find a lot of clips, but I did
thank
find
God.
this little like preview of you guys on a party bus going into Hollywood, I believe it was.
I think I was down in a bottle of champagne and that.
Yeah.
I was the token drunk one there.
So
Yeah,
what was that
man.
entire filming process like?
It was an adventure just like I wanted. You get locked in a house. There's no alarm clocks. The only thing that wakes you up is a bullhorn at 8 a.m. or whoever knows what time. And we're going to run laps around the house with Chris Jericho yelling at us and a lot of crazy stuff. Like girls, they casted us to have to react to things, people that they knew were going to not get along very well. And I just like I'm not used to that kind of drama. So I was just like, what are you guys doing? Are you crazy? Like, I'm gonna stay out of this. I was never in the middle of it. Um, I was just hanging out, drinking a little too much sometimes, not knowing I was on camera. But yeah, it was interesting. It was really cool. After they tricked us. The very first episode, they didn't tell us we were going to perform. They just said, "Here, free bar." So I kind of fell for that one. And after the first performance, I was like, okay, I don't want to make a fool out of myself every performance. So I really got to time out when I'm allowed to drink, when I know that the cameras are off. So I kind of took it a little more seriously, just because I wanted to do a good job, not to win it or anything. I remember the girls all sitting by the pool on the first day, and they're just like, "So who do you think's gonna win this?" And I don't really care. And they're just like, "What do you mean you don't care?" And I was just like, I'm just here for the beer, dude. Like, I don't know, just chilling. And somehow it went down that way. I don't know how it happened, but yeah.
And then, so what happened when you won? You won a contract with Geffen Records.
Hmm.
Where did that go?
Not very far. We did one song which I wrote actually when I was 16. Um and I'm not going to say the title of it, but we did one song with the music video. They spent about 50 grand on this music video. We rented out the
Wow.
whole Santa Monica Pier. I got to ride the roller coaster by myself like 20 times. Uh it was really cool. I actually met the drummer for Stitched Up Heart. He was cast as the drummer for that music video. And then it was, 50 cents on the line. I need to take care of him. Lady Gaga's coming up and running. And they're like, okay, reality television star, we don't have time for you, kind of thing. And so it was like a one hit kind of thing. Um, and I thought I was done. I was like, this is a tough industry. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. So I just went home crying, Mom, I
Right.
don't think I
Yeah.
can, you know?
Yeah. That's what I was wondering. Like, what feelings did that bring up within you at that point? Because, yeah, that's got to be really tough going through that whole experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you work your butt off. You come out here to the city. I was homeless for a good year in Los Angeles. Moved out here with a boyfriend, didn't work out so well, but so I, went through the ringer enough on the girl band that I was in, the other stuff, and after the drop from this label, I wrote a whole album too to try to like pitch to them, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm not sure if I'm cut out for this. And so went home, and my parents were just like, no, you have to finish what you started. You went out there to do something. You're not done yet. So get back out there. And I was like, but I know what new. And then the drummer, we picked up the pieces. I was like, all right, I have this idea for a band. I wanted someone else to start screaming and doing all the rough vocals, and I would just do like this jazzy kind of thing, and I would write the
Okay.
parts, and I would scream them in the practice, and I was like, oh, I guess I could scream too, so let's just roll with it. So yeah.
And so, was that your first experience fronting a band, like those bands that you talked about before 2008? Were you fronting any of those bands, or were you just playing guitar with them?
Yeah, Jackstrip Kitty, I was originally just the backup vocals and rhythm guitar player, and the girls decided to fire the singer because she never came to practice, and she was kind of, on drugs and stuff. So they were like, "Oh, well, you sing," and I was like, okay." So I kind of got pushed into that, but I was more I always would just hide behind the guitar, like I didn't feel like I was a front person. I was more just like, I just want to be a part of the stitched up part. But the acoustic stuff was me. There was a couple other gigs that were me as the lead, but I mean, to be honest, I would rather just be a bass player and just like hang out in the back and jam. So yeah, Stitched is the first band that I started that I wasn't playing guitar.
Right. And so, with Stitched Up Heart, when you first started playing shows, like before that, like you say, it was a lot of the acoustic stage performances when you were growing up and getting comfortable on stage. So, what was it like when you got into more of the no guitar, just singing? heavy rock and having to grab this audience's attention. What was that like for you at that point?
I learned a lot from the reality show actually, because I didn't know how to perform without a guitar until that show happened and I had to do these songs, and I realized that, oh, I can move my arms and I'm not stuck to a mic stand, and I can go out into the crowd. And that's when I was like, there's a lot more freedom in this. So let me try it. And I can do stuff like, woo. So now actually, after we've been a band since 2010, and after 9 years of a revolving door on the rhythm guitar section, the boys were like, well, dude, why don't you just play guitar, rhythm guitar on some of these songs? And I was like, the ones that call for it. And I'm like, are you sure? I didn't think I was good enough to play in our band, to play the kind of guitar riffs that we have. And we're like, let's just see what happens. Let's do a tour, play guitar. And, I only did one song on the last tour that we had me playing. And I've learned a couple more of our songs that are really fun. And yeah, I missed it. I didn't realize how much I missed holding a guitar in my hand, but it's a lot of fun.
And you talk about that revolving door. So you guys formed in 2010, and then between 2010 and 2013, you guys had quite a few lineup changes in there. So what was it within you that kept driving forward? Because you were coming off the whole Geffen Records thing and coming into this band, trying to make it work. And as members started changing over, was there ever any thought of, oh man, like, is this ever going to work out? Or were you at that point really focused on, no, you know what, if that person leaves, someone else is going to come in and we're going to make this band work?
Yeah. Every time anyone would leave, I mean, at the very beginning, um, the band went on a tour for 2 months. We'd just been a band for like maybe 6 months. And we had an EP and it was blowing up really fast. And the lineup that we had went on tour for 2 months, shared a Suburban with another band. So there was like 9 people in one Suburban for 2 months. Nobody made any money. We were smelly. We, it was a mess, and everybody pretty much quit right after that. Like the whole band quit on me. They didn't quit. They just never answered my calls. And the drummer from the video with Geffen, he wasn't the original, but I wanted him to be. He was like, we were hanging out one night and he's like, well, why don't we try to put this back together? And I'm like, dude, like, come on. So over it, and he's like, no, let's do it. And so he went to the old band members and he was like, is it cool if I just, we put this together? And so we did. And, I wasn't the best at managing things. You're trying to make so many people happy all at the same time. And then people's motives or what they want to do with their life changes. Maybe they don't want to tour anymore. They want to get a normal job. It's not an easy gig, especially taking a band from scratch and building it. And, it was 5 years till we got signed. So we were booking our own tours and making no money and, in a van. And it was not easy. And so some people just didn't want to, or they had another band that they saw better opportunities for. So, I think people come in your life for a reason and a season. I don't have any hard feelings towards anybody. But yeah, there was plenty of times that I definitely thought like, what are we doing? Like, and if the one thing that I keep doing is moving forward. And if I didn't move forward after some of those occasions, I wouldn't have been able to experience some of the amazing things that I've been able to experience with this band.
And you get to a point in your career where maybe things aren't going right, but you're so far down that path, you're like, well, you know what? I can't do anything else. This is what I'm doing. If I'm not doing this, then what am I doing? So I might as well just push forward and just put my head down and keep going because this is what I'm doing.
That's exactly where I'm still at. Like, I don't have any other, like, there's no plan B in my head. I don't passionately care about any other career as I do with music, as I have for, so long. And I don't see any other way except forward. And all the stuff that we've been through would be for nothing if I just said, I'm done.
And what was it like getting that record deal?
Oh, yeah. There's a whole album written after 5 years of trucking along and trying so hard. And finally, actually, the first record deal happened. I've been courting this label for 5 years, hoping to work with them because I really, really love what they've done with the kind of music that we do, and a lot of females in rock and stuff. And I just thought they were a perfect home for us. And so finally, it took me actually quitting drinking to really push that forward. And literally a month after I stopped, we got a record deal. We got booking agents, we got managers, we got whole team of people, we got radio play, tours that we never thought we could ever do. And there's a whole album of how optimistic I was, never alone. So yeah, you can hear it in the lyrics.
And is that pretty cool in having that record and being able to listen back on that and just sort of reminisce? Like, does it take you back to that time when you listen to the record?
I never really listened to our music,
Oh,
but
really?
well, I mean, imagine you got to play this stuff for so long
Well,
that
that's
you
true. Yeah.
like album like 5 years ago or something. We played Finally Free how many times?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I guess
especially
so. So when you play it, do you get those feelings?
there's some moments, yeah. When I'm performing, I'm in there. I'm in the song and I'm really like remembering it. But how many times have we rehearsed like this stuff over and over again? So we don't really, I only listen to the new stuff we're working on just because that's where my head is. And then the stuff that we've done, it's like sometimes it'll pop up and I'll be like, oh yeah, we did that. That's cool. For me, I mean, I'm sure one day I'll go back and tell my grandchildren, like, remember the days when I got to tour with Godsmack in Canada and, you know, never saw much but the back of the arena.
And so moving forward from that record deal, what has it been like? Because I know that you talk about women in rock and just sort of the difficult path that there is, and that even today there's maybe not the uh, general wide acceptance of females in rock. And so, what has that path been like for you?
There's been some really, really amazing women that have kind of carried the torch and paved the way and made it possible, like allowed me to see the possibility of that being real. And like for example, we toured with Hailstorm and In This Moment and New Year's Day, and that tour that we did was our first arena tour. And I watched just it was so inspiring to be able to see them like carry this torch and just like it was so inspiring every single night. I think that women in heavy music has definitely come a long way. There's still a huge difference in the amount of men that are in the heavier music side of things, but it's a lot more acceptable. It's not as weird. People are like, okay, it's a girl in a band. However, we do get kind of squished into the same category just because we're girls and we like to scream. But uh, I think we all understand each other, and the women in these bands, we kind of have united together and we support each other. And I think that is like this whole movement. It'll be really cool if we look back at this one day and just be like, remember that whole movement that we got to be a part of? I might be a little one in it, but I'm still part of it. And
Mhm.
that's pretty cool.
And what does it mean to have friends like Sully, and not just friends, but people who have your back in the industry like that?
I think relationships are like the biggest thing. Sully is man, we didn't even have a booking agent when we did the Godsmack tour. And because he cared about me, and because we became such awesome friends, that he really went to bat and went around all these major booking agents and huge bands to squeeze us on this tour. And I didn't think it was going to happen. I was like, that'd be cool, man. Like it would be fun to tour with you, and I'm still like, I can't believe we did that. Like every show was insane. It was like, I got like cried, emotionally, like positive tears from how awesome it was. I still am so grateful that we got to experience that. But yeah, relationships are huge. And if you burn bridges and are mean to people and try to make others look bad, it's only going to make you look bad. And people aren't going to want to work with other people that are just tearing other people down.
Right. And now coming into 2020 and your new album, what was the process like going into that album? Because you're coming off your major label debut. Was there pressure going into the album, or were you pretty comfortable as a band and within yourself going into that album?
Oh man, sophomore album for anybody, the second record is difficult. Like we wrote 70 songs. I had vocal cord surgery before the album
Oh,
because we
really?
were just touring so hard and I wasn't taking care of my voice. And so I didn't even know if I could do it. Like I had no idea.
Wow.
I thought I might not be able to do this. There's been plenty of times that and I just kept going forward, put one foot in front of the other, and and tried to learn from it and work on stuff. And that's why the album is lyrically so deep. And there's a lot of moments of it, of really like introspective moments, and having to pull myself out of those dark times, which I think ironically came March 13th, 2020, where the whole album was released in its entirety. And the same day, our tour was postponed from Corona. And I think that it came out when it was supposed to hopefully get people through that stuff. Because there's always a twist of hopefulness in the lyrics. I try to turn the dark stuff into light and bring people to a positive place and just tell them that, like, I've been through some stuff before too. And you're not the only one. You're not alone in this.
Right. And did I read that kind of shifted as you were writing? At first, you were more focused on just sort of the dark side of things. And then as you started writing, it kind of shifted to finding that hope through the darkness.
Actually, when we first started the record, I wanted it to be an album of strength. Like, yeah, man. Like, I
Okay.
wanted to be like Warrior, for example. Like, I'm a warrior. Rewrote those lyrics in the verses a little bit to twist it because it was too positive. And uh, where does strength come from? Strength comes from what you had to go through to get strong. All the trial and error, and what made you strong. You have to like really force yourself through some really tough stuff to get tough. So, but yeah, I tried a lot of it. In the 70 songs we wrote wasn't necessarily all about lyrical. We wanted to try to throw paint and do something different than the last record. And we didn't really know what we were doing. We just kept trying weird things and trying new things. And it was mostly a musical direction. And, it just ended up being what it is. And that record was that record. And this next record, we're working on our third album. We got a green light for that. So that's cool. And um, that this one, we all know what we're doing, at least we have a good idea, and everybody's pretty much like, yeah, this is the route. And so it wasn't like, I don't know, maybe this will work, we'll try that, so
So out of those 70 songs that you wrote for the last album, do you bring any over to this next album, or is everything you wrote in that period just staying in that period?
personally I would love to. I think there were some really good gems, but I think that the next record is also another evolution, and we were in a different time. And so I don't know if any of the stuff will be crossed over. I think that so much has happened. There's a lot that everybody's gone through, and I definitely want to play to what what we went through and again, some sort of strength in it, and try to, I don't know, be there for people when they need it.
And you talk about that sophomore album and how important it is to a band. And so in 2020, having that sophomore album and then not being able to do anything with it, what has that been like mentally, and accepting the fact that that album might just stay there and you might not tour it, you might not do anything with it, you might just move on to your third album? Do you have to process that emotionally?
Yeah, for sure. I think every musician right now has gone through a lot of stuff in their heads on what they're doing. There's a lot of bands that were like they really needed a break. And then there's bands that needed to find another form of income because they couldn't feed their families without being on tour. And then we were, as a band, came together and were able to, first off, I ordered a pizza and called the kitten rescue and was like, as soon as I found out the tour was postponed, and we're probably going to be here for a bit, I needed to help foster some kittens or something and get my head out of that, because now I'm home, and then let me do something positive to distract me from my own self. And, you know, but we've been able to pivot. Like we started doing Twitch, which has been keeping us, active with everyone, getting us to really get to know our fans, and they get to know us, whether or not it's uncomfortable. Because sometimes, being out there and vulnerable and just talking to people, they're going to make their own assumption on how they feel about you. But um, we've found ways around worrying about it and trying to see what we can learn from this and how can we grow. And we've definitely, um, we're going to come out a lot stronger after this.
Right. Yeah. That's what I imagine. Like with bands, if you can get through this period as a strong unit, then I imagine you can get through quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, there was some silver linings to it. Like our drummer's parents they're getting really old, and they needed his help, and so he needed to be there for him. So that was something that needed to happen, and the timing was perfect for him to really help be a good son. And we ended up we were we moved into a house in the beginning of the apocalypse. Pretty much April, we closed on a house which we'd been working on for a few years to try to get into. So it happened, and we got out of the city. We're more on the outskirts of Los Angeles, which is mostly farms. The Twitch thing, we're getting into Bitcoin, but we won't talk about that. uh so we've found ways. I've helped a lot of kittens this year, and this last year. And so, yeah, uh, it's definitely been like some bands didn't make it through this. And I'm just grateful that we have such a solid group of people that we're all still on board and we're all still ready to go as soon as the green light goes.
And what does the third album look like right now in the process of getting it recorded? Are you just writing right now, or are you starting actual pre-production on it?
We're writing. I'm trying to push some people along to make decisions because I really want this one producer to do the job because he's done a great job for us before, and he wants to do it. So we're like, come on, man, let's just do it. Like sometimes you gotta wait for some paperwork stuff to be done, but till then we're just writing some songs with some people, and it's coming along nicely, and just trying to be patient. But we got some time, so no rush. We're actually ahead of the game right now.
Awesome. And as you come into this third album, do you ever take time to sit back and look where you've come from and what you've been able to do? Or do you like to focus more on the road ahead rather than sort of reminiscing on the days gone by?
Oh yeah, I mean, all the time. I try to live in gratitude because you look around at what you've been able to accomplish, and like sometimes we can look at how the things that we don't have or we want and we just don't think we can get. And when you live in that kind of mindset, then it's not going to make anyone happy. So you have to remember what you've been able to do and achieve, and be grateful for the things that you've gotten. in this life. And so try to live in gratitude as much as possible.
That's awesome. Well, you have done a lot and you have worked your butt off and it's really great to see where you've been able to get to, and it's great to see the band and that you have a really great formation of something after all those years of battling and working your way through all the issues and the pain and finally being able to get here. It's awesome to see, and we'll look forward to that third album.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate your words. And I don't think I've ever done an interview where people you're really good at what you do.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I absolutely love it. Yeah, I started this in February and I've absolutely been loving it.
Yeah. Well, you definitely did a good job at researching. I worked at a news station actually in Florida for a while. Channel 9 Eyewitness News coverage you can count on. So I know that game. There's a lot of research involved, but you always follow your heart. You just got to keep following your heart, and your feet will get where you need to go.
Yep, that's for sure. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words as well. And thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you guys so much once again for listening. We really appreciate the support, and thank you to Mixi for stopping by and sharing her awesome story. Please make sure you are liking, sharing, following, subscribing to us on whatever streaming service you are listening on, and be sure to join us again for The Music Made Me.